Y'all know how it be. Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. 10 a.m. Sunday, if not 6 p.m. on Wednesday. So it's the time to catch your boy. That's why we put it at the beginning of the video so the people that watch the video from the beginning, they get to know that type of information so they know when to be showing up. If you like this type of content, that's why we say that. Anyways, we got some videos to review. I'll be in the background talking that mess, smoking these spliffs, and doing my THIND, right? Right. Rolling up some of this snowplow from the Homeboy Creative. Y'all know we had that in a recent harvest. Go back and look at videos if you want to see footage. We got them.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to our latest TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and today we're going to take a closer look at what's happening in Florida, where the state's top legalization campaign is suing the government over what they call an unlawful attempt to throw up more than 200,000 signatures tied to their 2026 ballot initiative. This grabbed a lot of people's attention. This story was first reported by Marijuana can get, even in states that have strong public support, which Florida does. But before we get into what's happening and why, let's take a moment to recognize the group behind the push and one of the biggest names involved. So we welcome you into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. All right, so if you followed Florida's
Morning,
cannabis
Sue. Good to
story
see you.
over
How
the
you doing?
years, you'll know the name John
I'm gonna
Morgan.
go check out the
Yeah,
Bud
he's cracked a
Files.
few ads with us recently. He's the founder of Morgan & Morgan, and it's one of the largest injury law firms in America, and he's been a driving force in cannabis reform across the state. Some of you may know that Morgan helped finance the campaign that legalized medical marijuana back in 2016, and now he's once again lending his voice and support to the new adult use effort. So really, let's connect some of these dots here. With Morgan's involvement in funding, there's weight obviously behind this campaign, but that also means there's some pushback, and that's where the latest lawsuit begins. And before we unpack this whole story, just a quick word from Morgan & Morgan right now. Hey everyone, there's a reason smart investors celebrate when their portfolio jumps 40% in a year, just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Think about it. When you're investing, you want the right.
Now that's the only thing you do got to watch out about Shad, though. See, he does have paid sponsorship. That's not a bad thing. That's definitely a good thing. But at the same time, they're gonna pay you to say what they want. So yeah, you gotta take it for what it is, from who it is. But if you trust Shad and his decision to make choices, yeah, some of the companies he'll put out there with you for some sponsorships is gonna be good. Some of them ain't gonna be all the way there some of the time. So it's good and bad. Hey, you gotta do your own research and do your own homework. Shout out to 2025 playlist. Yeah, I'm gonna say Mike Jones one more time. Homework
In your
2025.
corner.
Gotta do
The
your
same
homework.
is true if you're injured in dealing with an insurance company, and that is where Morgan & Morgan comes into the equation. Why? Well, they've 1,000 attorney 100 offices nationwide, and they've been fighting for people for 35 years, and their track record is hard to ignore. Let me explain a little bit further. Case in point, in Florida, a client was offered $350,000, but walked away with $12 million. In Pennsylvania, another client, they turned $650,000 offer into $26 million. That's a 40x return. So in total, Morgan & Morgan, they've recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients. So really, when
What
you
up,
hire
Big
them,
B?
it's like
Appreciate you
bringing in a
stopping
legal
by.
army that has your back.
You know,
Because if
doing
you're
my
injured due to someone
CHIN to
else's
the G.
negligence, you deserve to be paid. And let's be honest, not all law firms are created
Another
equal.
Super
But with
Saturday over
Morgan &
here.
Morgan, their fee is free
Hopefully you
unless
doing
they
good,
win. You
Brusky.
can start your claim right now by clicking the link in the
Or
description
should I
below
say
or by
Bradusky?
scanning this QR code on your screen
That
with your
we in
phone.
these
At
YouTube
the end of
streets
the
gotta
day,
keep
if
up the
you want
YouTube
what you deserve,
terminology
make sure you
in
go with the right
25.
team by contacting Morgan & Morgan today. Now, let's get back to the rest of our video. All right, let's now get back into Florida and what we're talking about here. The group leading Florida's adult use campaign is called Smart and Safe Florida, which, again, a lot of you
All the keep is at the top of the screen.
are familiar with. They've been working to put a new legalization initiative on the
Man,
2026
the
ballot, a
small
measure
things
that
you
would
find
allow
funny.
adults 21 and older to purchase and use cannabis legally. But just a few days ago, that same campaign, they filed a lawsuit against the state, specifically against Secretary of State Cord Bird and Leon County Supervisor of Elections Mark Early. According to the complaint, the Secretary's office instructed all county supervisors to invalidate petitions that didn't include a full printed copy of the proposed amendment when the voters signed. You believe this? So here's the problem. The campaign urges there's no Florida law that requires that. They say the rule was invented after the fact and that it's a clear overreach of state authority. Something doesn't make sense here. So now they're suing. They're asking the court to stop those invalidations and reinstate roughly 200,000 petition signatures that had been thrown out. And I can see why. So again, this all comes from a detailed reporting from our friends Tom and Marijuana Moment. So really, what's at stake here? Well, let's dive into some of those numbers because that's what will decide whether legalization even gets a vote. So to make the 2026 ballot, the campaign needs 880,062 verified signatures by February 1st, 2026. And right now, they've got about 662,000 verified, meaning they still need around 218,000 more. So if these 200,000 petitions are then tossed out permanently, the campaign could lose months of progress and millions of dollars worth of organizing work. So that's why this lawsuit indeed matters. It's not just about procedure, let's face it, it's about survival. So if the court rules in the campaign's favor, those signatures will indeed come back into play and the path to the ballot remains open. If not, Florida's adult use effort could stall out before voters even see the question. More obstacles being created here in Florida. It's not an easy path. But the fight isn't happening in isolation. Florida already voted on adult use legalization in 2024, but the measures we know fell short of the 60% approval needed to amend the state constitution. So since then, organizers have revised the language, tightening restrictions on public use, marketing, and packaging to make it more acceptable to cautious voters and lawmakers. But meanwhile, Governor Ron DeSantis and other state officials have made it clear they don't support broad legalization, calling it a gateway issue. No data to back that up. So that means the political environment remains hostile, and legal tactics like this could easily become a way to delay reform without debating it directly. And we know DeSantis is a
Even with the argument on the packaging and shit, you see what I'm saying? If you can only sell this stuff in places where they verify that people buying the things are 21 and over, not just at the gas station, not on the shelf right next to the regular candy type shit, you see what I'm saying? Then, I mean, even at the gas station, they usually have anything with cannabis behind this damn glass, because I don't know where you are, but normally here in Kansas City, they behind the glass and passing you shit that's not just out there for everybody to just be handling. You see what I'm saying? What up to the video sponsor, Son of Oat and Seed Company? Shout out to the big homie Triple B in the building. Appreciate you stopping by, saying hi. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the shit be behind the glass. I mean, I don't know what smoke shop y'all be having that had this shit right out there for the kids to pick up, but they usually make sure it's in a 21 over place. So the whole kids are getting weed from it. Nah, kids is getting weed from your dumb ass leaving your shit everywhere at the house. Okay, those be your kids that they be talking about, not my kids, because my kids don't get a hold of my weed, although there's weed all the way around this house. That's why I don't have kids down here. You know, this grown folk area. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be 21 plus to come talk to Uncle Fred. You know, I'll catch you upstairs. Don't come down in my area because, you know, we got 2A for that.
at this in a negative way. So the result, a drawn-out process that keeps reform advocates stuck in court instead of on the ballot. So why does this all matter? And you might ask, why should anyone outside Florida care about this story? Well, in case you've been hiding under a rock, Florida could become the biggest legal recreational market in the world. Because what's really happening here, it could become a blueprint for how other states challenge ballot initiatives they don't like. If Florida's Secretary of State succeeds in invalidating petitions under a new interpretation of the rules, other states could follow that playbook, especially in the South where cannabis reform remains politically divisive. So there's a lot at play here. It's also a test for how far administrative agencies can go in challenging election procedures midstream. For advocates and investors alike, that uncertainty, it adds, again, real risks. Add that to the list of concerns here in the cannabis industry. So imagine building a business model across a potential legal market and then finding out a procedural change wiped the ballot effort off the map. So that's the kind of
bullshit that they be on.
volatility this industry still faces even here in 2025. And let's not forget, Florida is the third most populous state in America. As I said, if adult use passes, the market potential would be massive. It would rival and exceed states like California or New York, and arguably become the largest recreational market in the world. Industry analysts estimate the state could generate billions in annual retail sales within just a few years, and that's before factoring in tourism and ancillary businesses. You get around 130 million tourists per year. Think about.
I mean, with me knowing the Missouri's numbers from last year, yeah, Florida, they just say is one of the top dogs. It's in the top 5 states with high population. So he said they right there with California numbers. So that should easily be 1 to 2 billion a year. That's easily taxable income. That's not going to what the black market and the shit you don't want it to go to. This goes back into the school funding and the blah 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 blahs if they use money for that, because we all know they don't actually care about income of money, because how they control money, they goofy with it. Yeah, we're $37 trillion in debt to who? Because I didn't approve y'all getting that loan, okay? I did not approve of y'all getting any loans and being that far in debt and then giving you the ability to tax me and tell me what you need to do with my money. You see what I'm saying? Because obviously y'all goofy. Hell, what was the last thing they bought? The Louisiana Purchase? Well, we would have went to war and annexed ourselves from whoever it was anyways at some point in time. We'd have been a free state one way or another. Supposed to be free.
That. So that's why major operators and investors are already deeply involved. And according to state disclosures, Smart and Safe Florida has raised tens of millions of dollars from cannabis companies, including some of the largest multi-state operators. Curaleaf, think Trulieve, think Verano, on and on and on. So now you add in John Morgan's public backing, and this campaign has both funding and visibility. But as this lawsuit shows, even with money, progress isn't guaranteed. Maybe we got to spend more. So really, what should you take away from this story right now?
We had to go all the way to Oklahoma to get that good smoke Oklahoma no more.
As it is about
I'll still make a trip.
Procedural fights like how petitions are verified can decide the future of entire markets. And then second, Florida's case is a reminder that reform campaigns need airtight compliance and documentation. Day one, even small technicalities can be weaponized later, which we're seeing right now. And then third, public support, it doesn't automatically equal political success. Polls consistently show that more than 65% of Floridians support adult use legalization. Yet here we are fighting over signatures. And finally, if Florida does make it to the 2026 ballot and passes legalization, it could shift the entire political landscape across the Southeast. That's why both sides are treating this as a must-win battle. To me, change is inevitable, so let's make this happen. So to recap, Florida's main legalization campaign, Smart and Safe Florida, is suing the state after officials invalidated roughly 200,000 signatures.
I'm thinking somebody just paid me to stop showing my growth for a while, which is cool with me, because, you know.
If the court rules against them, the campaign could miss the 2026 ballot entirely. The story, which was again first reported by Marijuana Moment, underscores how fragile the legalization process still is, even in large, well funded states. So we'll keep watching this closely, especially as the case moves through the courts and deadlines get tighter. I'm Shad Dales. This has been our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. If you found it helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe below. And for more updates on state-level cannabis reform, follow us right here on YouTube or at thedalesreport.com. In the meantime, enjoy your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.
I guess I could have hit a dab first, but hell. Smoke half the blunt, hit a couple dabs, then smoke the rest of the blunt. That can still work. I can see that being in the future. Florida down there tripping.
You don't really want to play with me. Ignite the gas and explode any hopes it contains in me. You better watch how you came at me. Whatever you do affects you. You're chained to me. Whenever you take aim at me, you take aim at you. The same thing as me. Bang, bang, when it bursts in your brain of view. What are you done what a Kurt Cobain would do? Trying to skip a link in a chain of food. Boy, I'm Mr. Pink to these grays and blues. I get a change of mood when I sip the drink. Disperse the curse in a cryptic ink. Let's be honest, I'm half bad. Yes, if you really want it, you could have that mess. Let it roll like the good times. If you stay on my good side, you'll be hashtag blessed. Everybody want to win. Truth is, some have to lose. There's one path to choose. Everything goes around, comes around, and what you do comes back to you. You know, that's how the truth go. They pretend they could bend me like Zuko. Then they try to get around me like loopholes. But cross me, you burn up fast. In a word, if you play, you burn your karma. Gonna give them what they deserve. Yeah!
There's been one massive, long-standing issue filled with lots of debate and passion. It's definitely, can people who consume medical or recreational herb own firearms? And that's an issue that the Supreme Court has danced around time and time again. But now SCOTUS has agreed to hear a case where the facts couldn't be more clear, and this is big. Meanwhile, the police in Maryland were actually looking for people to volunteer to smoke weed and drive, and it
What kind of weed they have for you to smoke?
is also that they can train officers to catch stoners on the road.
Medical marijuana and Second Amendment advocates believe a new court ruling will be the smoking gun that opens the door for medical marijuana users to purchase guns. Action News Jackson State and local government reporter Jake Stofan joins us live on the South Side. And Jake, at this point, the prohibition is still in effect.
Well, at least for now. But that new ruling makes it clear the federal government's policy prohibiting medical marijuana patients from purchasing firearms is likely unconstitutional, setting the stage for the ban to be officially overturned. Gun dealers like Z Farhat, who owns Green Acres Sporting Goods, if a customer checks this box indicating they're a medical marijuana patient on the federal firearms form, it's game over.
Either lie on the form or they just, can't buy a gun.
But this new ruling from a federal appeals court lays the groundwork for that federal prohibition to be overturned.
This is a landmark decision.
Florida
Said you got to remember to tell them people to mind their business when they ask you medical questions. What's that got to do with me buying a gun, sir? I'm old enough and got the money, so give me my motherfucking bang, 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 bang. Shout out to bro. Appreciate you stopping by and seeing us live again.
Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried
live on
helped
2
spearhead
channels.
the
I'm on
legal
my
challenge
second
when
live.
she served as the state's agriculture
You guys
commissioner.
sound the same,
She
right?
argues allowing
Right.
medical marijuana patients to fully exercise their Second Amendment rights is an issue that crosses party lines.
Making sure that those who participated in the medical marijuana program didn't have to choose between their constitutional rights that's in the Florida Constitution and not in the Second Amendment rights.
The state of Florida is no longer party to the case after Fried's successor pulled out of the suit. Still, plaintiffs, which include military veteran medical marijuana patients, stayed on the case. The latest ruling stops short of immediately overturning the federal prohibition, but sends the case back down.
Send it back down. Nah. We
Down
want
to a
this
lower
handled.
court to issue a formal ruling consistent with the opinion. Farhat says until the ATF issues a new directive or updates the federal form, gun stores will continue operating as they have been, but he says he does believe the end to the ban is overdue.
I feel like at this point it's no different than, say, alcohol or anything else. So I think if they're a law-abiding citizen and they're doing everything the right way, I don't think they should be denied their Second Amendment right to.
So guys, this is an issue that's been plaguing the courts, the community, and medical patients for decades. At this point, people are literally asked to choose between their health and their right to protect themselves.
Shit, I'm gonna do both.
And time again, we've seen tons of people on this channel express concerns about this very issue. Tons of folks say they're not willing to give up their rights to protect themselves for a medical card. And that's a really difficult position to be in. On one hand, you want to do everything you can to improve your health, avoid big pharma medicines, and really just promote natural ways of taking care of your own body. But on the other hand, you're being asked to give up your right to protect yourself. And if we're really thinking about it, a lot of folks who consume alcohol become a lot more violent and a lot more belligerent than some folks who consume herb. And we've seen instances where the Supreme Court has actually heard cases relating to this topic, but a lot of the cases may have differing facts. But in this recent case that SCOTUS agreed to hear, the facts couldn't be more clear. In this particular case, the dispute happened after FBI agents searched the home of Himani. They found a Glock 9mm pistol, 60 grams of marijuana, and 4.7 grams of cocaine, which led prosecutors to charge him with violating the law, now at the center of the case. Himani asked the district court to dismiss the charge, arguing that applying the law to him violated the Constitution. Now, according to this, and I quote, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case of the constitutionality of federal law prohibiting people who use the good herb or other drugs from possessing or buying firearms. And like I said, it definitely feels like the court has danced around this issue time and time again, with lower court rulings often conflicting. And after several years of conflicting lower court rulings on related cases, justices on Monday today granted cert in U.S. Himani to settle the question of whether the ban, known as Section 922G3, is consistent with the Second Amendment. On the very same day today, the court also declined to take up a separate case relating to cannabis consumers' firearm rights, and there are also still several other that are pending a decision from the justices. Now, this is literally breaking news. Is this article was published 40 minutes ago. Now, this particular case of United States versus Himani arises from the federal prosecution of Ali Daniel Himani, whose case the government said was based on his gun possession alongside his habitual use of cannabis. The Trump administration...
What you gonna be on, Rumble? I'll make sure I have that time of my schedule clear, sir, although I ain't gotta wait for no giveaway to get some beans. Hell, I'll pull up.
urged the justices to review the dispute after the U.S. Courts of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit said that the law is constitutional as applied to Himani. And to be clear, the administration to uphold a regulation in this context. In so doing, the government said the case presents an important Second Amendment issue. Now, there are a key number of issues for the justices to grapple with here, and that includes whether the federal ban on gun ownership for habitual drug users is constitutional by examining its historical basis. And according to the government's argument, the Justice Department under the Trump administration argues that the ban is a justifiable restriction because habitual drug users pose a unique danger to society. They contend that any person can regain their Second Amendment rights by simply abstaining from illegal drugs. Now, on the flip side, Himani's lawyers contend that the ban is unconstitutional because there is no historical precedent for disarming a sober individual based on past substance use. The attorney that dismissed his charge agreed that historical laws targeted only people who are presently or even recently engaged in unlawful drug use. And the massive question here is
what up, Alexander? Good to see you. Y'all know to go check out that Ganja Sharman over on his own content and his own channels. Appreciate you stopping by.
The gun and drug issue surfaced in the case of Hunter Biden before his father, the former president Joe Biden, granted his son clemency. Now, just last year in United States versus Rahimi, the court ruled 8-1 that the Constitution allows temporarily disarming people who've been found by courts to pose credible threats to the physical safety of others. In Rahimi, the court sided with the government in applying its new test from a precedent called Bruin, which said gun regulations cannot stand unless they're consistent with this nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. In Hamani's case, the justices will now apply Bruin's historical test to modern-day drug use. So this could potentially be massive news for those folks who are medical patients or consume recreational herb. And in a situation where an overwhelming majority of Americans want the good herb to be legalized, it'll be really interesting to see how the Supreme Court decides on this particular issue. And it's not just about what the Supreme Court thinks, well, it kind of is, but it's also about what you guys think. So drop it in the comments down below and let me know where you guys stand on this particular topic. Now I want to show
Oh, that's what we do around here, Jimmy. Hell.
you guys our next story, where Maryland police have actually asked volunteer stoners to come in,
I
consume
want
the
you
good
to
herb,
get to
eat
hit them
food,
3
and
dots
then
on
get
everybody.
behind
That
the
way you
wheel
make
so
sure
that
you
they can
linked up
train
with everybody.
officers to catch other stoners
Video
for
sponsor.
DUI. But before we do,
Video sponsor said he got a giveaway at 420 today. Y'all better see. This is why you got wrenches. Make sure y'all locked in and loaded, because you know he said he gonna be on YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube streets. So hell, we'll be over there doing our thing in the chat, chatting it up. But yeah, that's why y'all get wrenches, because you know when people say they doing shit around here, we actually pull up.
just a quick reminder, guys, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
Oh, nah, is that a seed?
Call it 420, and you're going to smoke it?
Yes.
With the 5-0, smoking with the police.
Smoking with the police, that's right.
Thursday night, Kyrie Maxberry and a dozen or so other medical marijuana cardholders
Can I use your lighter?
volunteered to consume cannabis at the Montgomery County Police Department Training Center to help train officers to spot what it looks like when someone is stoned.
I think it's very hard to tell how high somebody is
Shit.
and how that may affect their motor skills.
Are you worried?
I'm very worried, because I know unequivocally this is going to increase the amount of impaired drivers we have out in the streets.
In July, recreational marijuana will be legal in Maryland. And with no breathalyzer for cannabis, police are using this training to teach officers how to spot drivers under the influence of the drug.
Maybe their observations in driving, in addition to the observation of driving, what in the field sobriety test is an indicator that they're now under the influence of something that's impairing their ability to be able to drive safely.
Is he impaired?
There are signs that his normal coordination is impaired in a way. There is a lot of factors that go into it, and we really have to look at every case as a whole.
I guess if they're able to shape like what they're looking for a little bit better. Through these tests, then, you know, by doing them over again, conducting them again, I think it should help.
If they determined right now that you were impaired, would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Now again, guys,
Well, you know my philosophy. If she don't smoke, she definitely got to drive. Oh, you don't even smoke weed? That's cool. Well, you driving. Yeah.
as I'm not advocating for DUI, driving under the influence, none of that
Shit, I'll
stuff.
be
I'm
over here
definitely not
smoking.
advocating for that. But the point is that alcohol
shit
is
said,
far worse
dude.
of an intoxicant. And when they consistently compare the alcohol to the good herb as a reason for DUI, I think it's not necessary. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Now, that being said, when the police did put out the request for some of these volunteers, the responses that they got were overwhelming. I mean, who doesn't want to go and blaze up with the police? Well, I mean, I don't, personally. So much so that it actually led the police department to post this. We've received an overwhelming number of participant sign-ups, and we're no longer accepting additional volunteers at this time. If you've already reached out, we'll be in touch by the end of Wednesday. Thank you for your interest and your support. And right before that, they posted, volunteers needed. The Ocean City Police Department and the Montgomery City Police Department are teaming up for a green lab, and we need your help. So it's really interesting seeing what they're doing. And what I think will be even more interesting is getting an idea of what these officers are looking for when it comes to DUI, especially when it comes to DUI related to the good herb. Now, according to this, what they say is that, of course, driving while impaired is still illegal in states that have legalized herb and in those that still maintain criminalization. So OCP advised that a shuttle service be available for participants when the exercise is launched. So essentially, they don't want you to go to the police station, blaze up, and then drive home, because they're obviously going to set you up for trouble if they did that. But what they did say is that they'll have about 40 student officers participating, so it's a great way to help train the next generation of law enforcement safely and responsibly. Now I can already tell
40 students, huh?
some of you guys will have differing views on this. Some of you guys may think it's a good thing. Some of you guys may not think it's a good thing. Some of you guys may think some of those volunteers are actually snitching, which is actually straight up what some of the folks said on these comments. Now, this is not the first time the Maryland police have done something of this nature, because just about 2 years ago, before they legalized, they did the exact same thing. Check it out.
Starting in July, recreational marijuana will be legal in Maryland, and so Montgomery County Police are really learning all they can, what they need to know about spotting stoned drivers.
Yeah, so with the help of some volunteers, officers got some first-hand experience with what it's like to be up close with someone who is high.
Just like alcohol, the same falls true for cannabis.
So they've literally done this before, and what they've also done in the past was conduct sobriety tests, especially for those folks who caught driving while under the influence of the good herb. So this is definitely not their first time doing something like that. And it's also not their first time conducting sobriety tests for people who have been caught driving while high.
Pot becomes legal in our state next week, and one main concern, more people driving while they're high. And if police think you're high behind the wheel, they do a field sobriety test, just like if you were driving drunk. And if you fail, you're going to get arrested.
They will be charged with a DUI, just as if it was alcohol. They'll be charged with a drug-related DUI, and they'll have to go through the court process, through the judicial system, and that does carry jail time. It does carry anywhere, depending on the DUI charge you're convicted of, it carries anywhere from 60 days to 1 year in jail.
Now, officers will also do drug testing after you get to the station. They'll measure the amount of THC in your blood or urine, but unlike an alcohol test, there is no specific limit for that test. So that means if you smoked weed 2 or 3 weeks ago and traces are still in your system, police can use that against you. We went in focus on this, on how other states have been handling driving while high, to give you a little bit more context to the story. But of all the 50 states, only 6 have specific baselines for how much THC is in your system before you're considered impaired.
So you guys can see how this could be a massive issue. Some of these police officers pull you over, you're not under the influence or actively impaired, but you do have traces in your blood from a few weeks ago. They can use that against you, and that in itself can cause a lot of officers to actually abuse their power and just lock people up for absolutely no valid reason. Now, that being said, thankfully, the Maryland court ruled and put in place checks and balances on the police so that they can no longer easily abuse their power. And also, if they smell something, they can no longer search your person. Check it out.
Smelling like marijuana is now not enough to prompt police to search a person in Maryland. In a 7-0 decision, the Court of Appeals ruled that since the state decriminalized marijuana possession of up to 10 grams, police should not be able to use the smell of marijuana as probable cause to make an arrest or to search someone. The ruling still allows police to have the ability to search a vehicle if officers smell marijuana, but they...
Nope, not even a vehicle. Shit, you supposed to smell weed, especially in my car. I can't smoke in public.
Can't specifically search anyone inside without evidence of a crime.
So these are both two issues that and lawmakers will be keeping their eyes on and be keeping tabs on.
You know, I'll be having to drop my daughter off at the mall, so, you know, when she in the mall, I'm sitting there hotboxing, but then when I see her coming, I'll let the windows down so she ain't got to, you know, catch the fade. Oh, shit, that was like a double entendre. What they call that, catch the fade, bars. Shout out to the big homie, he was in here. Yeah, got me spitting bars today. Hell.
especially as a lot more folks become open to legalization. With all that said, drop it in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's video. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, in our next video, as we enter yet another day of the federal government shutdown, there's a lot of things being shaken up in the cannabis community. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's absolutely crazy, and it's coming up right now.
I mean, for the government to be shut down, they sure do be talking about beds popping up. New bed pops up. I thought y'all wasn't working. Yeah, but we're still writing beds. Yeah, they is not losing no fucking time on the fucking dropping bands while they ain't supposed to be working type shit. I was like, why is there still bands popping up? This governor's over here working. I thought the government shut down. Yeah, but I'm still at home doing my shit in my state. You know, I'm still banning shit. You know what I mean? I'm out here authoritative. Hell, don't give him authorization to make authoritative decisions because he's just gonna go. Green light, baby. Yeah, that's why we had that shit.
Everybody in New York was calling to get down with Mr. Nice Guy. We met all kinds of customers, like this guy here. He's what we call an enhancement smoker, because he thinks that marijuana makes every activity that much better.
Mi casa su casa.
Observe.
You're Scarface, right?
Yeah.
I love Al Pacino, man. Did you ever see Son of a Woman?
Yup.
You ever see Son of a Woman on weed? That's the way to see it, man. It's just whack.
$60, yo.
It's cool, man. I got it. Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill, man?
No, I don't know, yo.
Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill on weed? Oh, there's some weird shit in there, man. There's a dude sitting in the bushes, man. Does he have a gun? I don't know, man. I don't know. What? Red team go. Red team go. It's just some weird shit, man.
Man, you're fucking crazy, yo.
Oh, it's cool. Thanks, man. Hey, yo, wait. Dude, I'm gonna check out the stars later. It's really trippy.
Especially on weed,
man.
I haven't done anything, officer. I haven't done anything, officer. Am I under arrest? Yeah. Am I under arrest? 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 Give me your hands. You're under arrest. For what? Yeah. For what? For what? All right, fine. Just get out. Out. Out right now.
We're not even 2 seconds into this stop, and the officer's already got a taser drawn. But here's where it gets wild. This routine traffic stop ends up becoming one of the most expensive cases and rejection of qualified immunity in modern policing history. Let's break down exactly how that happened. This is a follow-up to the brutal and senseless treatment of a Missouri teenager, carried out by yet another costume clown who swore, like they all do, that he was protecting rights and keeping the streets safe. But just a little reminder, in case you've been fooled into thinking you're actually safe around the boys in blue, in 2017, 9 times more people than terrorists. Wait, scratch that. It wasn't 9 times, it was 39 times. Actually, it's even worse. Cops killed 100 times more Americans than terrorists that year. 100 times. Let that sink in. Makes the phrase homegrown terrorism sound a little different now, doesn't it? So if you think you're protected by that thin blue line, you might want to think again, because you're not. Luckily, this case didn't end in another death. Well, technically it did, until EMTs managed to shock this kid's heart back to life. Now, Before we dig into the story, it's worth pointing out something the mainstream media loves to do. They use these brutality cases to push the idea that America's biggest problem is race. But here's the truth. Racism will never be as dangerous or as widespread as authoritarianism. When people start believing that a uniform and a badge give someone moral permission to harass, detain, or kill without consequence, you're no longer living in a free country. You're living in a sick one. A society that cheers on oppression while handing away its own liberty? That's not justice. That's submission. Generally speaking, government officials in the U.S. enjoy broad legal protection, known as qualified immunity, a shield that often keeps them safe from federal lawsuits, even when they violate someone's rights. But in a rare and powerful decision back in May 2021, the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals refused to extend that protection to a Missouri police officer named Timothy Reynolds. Reynolds had been hit with a $6.5 million jury verdict in a police brutality case involving a 17-year-old high school student named Bryce Masters. The court ruled that Reynolds violated Masters' constitutional right to be free from excessive and prolonged force, specifically the extended use of a taser long after any resistance